Welcome to From the Den podcast, providing Bears and NFL fans alike with compelling news, discussion, and debate. I'm your co-host Benjamin, joined alongside my dear friend and co-host Oren.
Hey Benjamin, let's get right into it. As always, kickoff starts now.
For the Cowboys selected CeeDee Lamb, and I have to give this an A. They stole CeeDee Lamb. I think he was the best receiver in the draft. Really, I think he should have went 8 or 9, somewhere around that area. That's where his skills should have been. The Cowboys don't necessarily need a wide receiver, but the only reason I think that I'm still giving this an A is just because of how great of a steal it was. I think that they do have Amari Cooper, and I think he's a great receiver. They have Michael Gallup, who is a player who could be pretty good. He has the potential to be pretty good, and he showed it. And I think that wide receiver 3 is a need for teams. It's not a huge need, but the fact that they still got CeeDee Lamb, their offense is going to be explosive with a better offensive line, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and an amazing wide receiver. I can't really see how they'll be that bad that last year.
The reason that I gave the Cowboys a lower grade than you actually said it yourself. They don't really need a wide receiver. I think that this pick had great value, and CeeDee Lamb has great talent. He's the second best in my opinion. Your opinion, the best, which I can understand in this draft. But I just don't see. I think the Cowboys have a lot greater needs than wide receiver. They have Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper right now, and while it's great to have like a 3 wide receiver where defense is really hard to guard, I think that they could have gotten a more even team by drafting some focusing on their defensive needs rather than trying to get 3 great wide receivers.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Dolphins selection via the Steelers. They drafted offensive tackle Austin Jackson from USC, and I am giving that pick a B-. While offensive tackle is the position that I think the Buccaneers needed. Not Buccaneers. I think the Dolphins needed the most aside from quarterback. I think they could have taken Austin Jackson way later. Yeah. This goes into the thing I was saying about value earlier. I've said this thing a lot. If you like a guy, but other teams don't like him, why not just trade down? Not much else to say.
Yeah, so I have to give this a C+. And what I would say is that Austin Jackson, he's more of a project, and I guess that the Dolphins they don't really need to win now. My only concern is Tua, and I'm concerned that if they don't have a good offensive line, he's going to be put in situations where he'll be hit a lot, and especially with an offensive tackle like Austin Jackson, who could turn out pretty well, but my only concern is he's more of a project, is that he's going to be pretty bad his first year, and Tua might get hurt because of that or something like that, and that's my only concern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Las Vegas Raiders selected Damon Arnett, cornerback out of Ohio State, and I have to give this a D. I think that the only reason I'm not giving this an F, which is pretty harsh, is because they needed a cornerback. I think he was a 2nd or 3rd round player, which was picked at pick 19. I get that there weren't amazing cornerbacks available, but I like Trevon Diggs, Jeff Gladney more than him, and I think that they just reached way too far to get a player that they didn't need. Just like with Henry Ruggs, I still gave that around a B- or a B because he's a great player. But I don't know if Damon Arnett is the guy that I would really say is a great player.
Yeah, I'm right with you on this one. I also gave him a B for basically the same reasons that, well, the Raiders did need a cornerback. I don't think it was some of their their top priority, and I don't understand why they needed to reach that much. It all comes down to value, and I don't think Damon Arnett was the most talented cornerback available, and even the most talented quarterback available could have been taken. I don't know if he's worthy of a 19th overall pick, so I don't really understand this pick.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Jaguars, they took off OLB K'Lavon Chase on out of LSU. I give this pick an A. I actually really like it. I really like the way he played last year, and I think he's a great NFL prospect. Also, the Jaguars really needed an OLB. And as for value, he was supposed to go higher or around there, so that makes sense. Talent, I already said he's a talented player, and he addresses their needs, so that checks out all 3 boxes for me, and that's why I gave this pick an A.
So again, I think I'm going to give an A- because I really do like him, but there are 2 major concerns that I have: injuries I'm not sure that you, especially with him, I'm not sure. He's not very durable. He's an injury-prone player, which
Hmm.
concerns me. But also, what concerns me is that the Jaguars, I think that they have bigger need than outside linebacker was wide receiver, and Caleb Chasen is an outside linebacker, and I think that they could have still taken a good receiver like Justin Jefferson here. But I still really like Caleb Chasen. So
I'm
that's
still
why.
in debate with you on the wide receiver thing. I really don't think the Jaguars should have targeted wide receiver early. Just my opinion, but I think that they already have a good young core of receivers that they can build off of, and they should focus on outside linebacker.
Okay, so what I would say is for the Philadelphia Eagles, they picked Jalen Rieger, and I would give this a B. I like Jalen Rieger. I think he's a good receiver, and I think that mostly all the receivers are good. But I think the pick after is Justin Jefferson. He's just a bit of a step above, and I'm not really sure why they passed on Justin Jefferson to go with Jalen Rieger. But besides that, it does fit a need of theirs, wide receiver. Last year, it was like the last 4 or 5 games, their leading wide receiver was a player who moved from running back to wide receiver,
Mhm.
which is kind of sad. And clearly they really, really need a wide receiver. That's the only reason I'm not giving them a lower grade.
Yeah, I gave this B minus. While I agree that certainly their highest need was a wide receiver. First of all, I think Justin Jefferson is a lot more talented than Jalen Rieger. But if the Eagles didn't think that, that's fine. I just don't understand why they didn't trade down. I sound like a broken record at this point, but there's really nothing else I can say for all these picks. There was just so much reaching that went on in this draft. It's insane. Why couldn't the Eagles just trade it down if they like Jalen Rieger so much? Maybe the rest of the NFL liked him, and I'm just unaware of that. But that is the reason I gave him a B minus. Just the value of Jalen Rieger just really affected this grade so much that I don't think he's worth a 21st overall pick, or at
Yeah,
least the rest of the NFL doesn't consider him that.
yeah,
Okay, moving on to the Vikings. I am a fan of the pick of Justin Jefferson um, for all like the opposite reasons that I was talking about with Jalen Rieger. I think Justin Jefferson is more talented than Jalen Rieger anyway. He was the most talented wide receiver available easily. The Vikings' main two needs were cornerback and wide receiver, so it makes sense that they took a wide receiver. And as for value, getting Justin Jefferson at 22 is great. Yeah, nothing really I can complain about with this pick, so that's why I'm giving it an A.
yeah. So what I will say, I'm giving it an A minus because I think that Justin Jefferson is a really, really, really good receiver, and I would give this like a higher A minus, just a tiny bit below an
A
A.
minus 0.5.
A minus 0.5 exactly. The only reason I'm not giving this an A is because I felt like wide receiver, they have a need a wide receiver, but they have no cornerbacks. And I get that they drafted Jeff Gladney later, but
Mhm.
I feel like I get there were no cornerbacks drafted between here, but I think they should have traded up to draft maybe AJ Terrell. And I get I didn't even like AJ Terrell's pick, but they have such a big need at cornerback that
Yeah.
I would have been okay with them trading up to get it.
Before we move on here, I just want to mention I think the Vikings have been pretty smart this offseason with trading Stephon Diggs. As much as I like to make fun of my Vikings friends, I really think Stephon Diggs was kind of a cancer to their team. He was providing a lot of negative energy, and they were basically able to uh, move away from his contract and draft a guy with just as much potential. And I really think that was a smart move for them. And they managed to get good picks out of the Stephon Diggs deal anyway.
Yeah, so what I will say is he was not a great player for their team and he did take off money. But what I would say is the goal for Justin Jefferson is his highest peak, I think, is to be somewhere around Stephon Diggs. I get that they're not the same skills and that
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
different skills, but like overall, I think as a wide receiver, the goal is to get to that. And I feel like the Vikings, especially with Kirk Cousins, deal how much money they're spending. Kirk Cousins is 31 years old. People don't realize that they're in a real win now situation. They have 2 or 3 years left to win now, and then they have to start rebuilding. And
Yeah.
I think Justin Jefferson's great, but I'm not sure that it was worth trading away Stephon Diggs if you're in a real win now situation.
Hmm.
Okay, so the Chargers traded with the Patriots to get the 23rd pick, and they selected Kenneth Murray. And I have to give this pick an A because I think that the Chargers really need to bolster their defense. And I think that their defense is very, very strong. They just have a few holes here and there. And then if they bolster it, it'll become elite. And I think that Kenneth Murray is the right guy. He's a bit undersized, but his skill is there. And I think he can step in and play pretty well.
Okay. I really like Kenneth Murray as a player. I think his talent is great and the value here was great for the Chargers. But I do not like that the Chargers took a linebacker here. It doesn't make sense to me. I think that they should have focused on improving their offense or their offensive line, especially for their newly drafted quarterback, instead of focusing. Well, I understand that they could try to make their defense elite. I think it would be smarter to make their offense better surrounding their new quarterback rather than trying to improve a defense that already is pretty good. And that's why I gave this a B minus, actually. Pretty harsh, but yeah, I stand by it. So now the Saints took Cesar Ruiz, center out of Michigan. I give that pick a B plus. Pretty simple pick here. Cesar Ruiz was supposed to go in late 20th overall, like 30 whatever overall. So this makes sense. The Saints taking a center here. That's one of the positions they needed most. And he's probably the most talented center. So it makes sense. B plus, solid, nothing exceptional. That's why I just left it at a B plus.
Yeah, I think that Cesar Ruiz, I would give this a B because I think they stretched a little bit on him. But I also, it's not a huge need of theirs. But when you're the Saints, I feel like the Saints don't have that many big needs. And I think that Cesar Ruiz is going to be pretty good. I like his potential. And that's the reason why I give this a B.
Okay.
If you enjoyed this episode of From the Den, please remember to subscribe, comment, and like this video.
Or if you're a Packers fan, remember to dislike and leave a nasty comment. Click the links on the screen to access additional content.